Episode number 841, Member Retention.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California. And I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
Hi, Priscilla, and Happy New Year's to everybody. I am on vacation this week in San Antonio, Texas. I'll tell you more about that in a few weeks. But I'm taking some time off this week.
Oh, that's great. And who do you have as a guest today?
I have a longtime friend, the national director for Austria and Germany. He lives in Vienna, and he's been involved in BNI since 2004. He was Michael. This is Michael Mayer, and Michael was in agricultural produce at one point, a recycling company, and then in 2004 got involved in BNI Vienna. Michael's married to Andrea since 2008, and he likes white wine, which is funny, Michael, because you always bring me red wine, which is okay with me. And you like riding motorcycles. You live in Vienna, and Mannesdorf, I think, is the correct pronunciation. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And your biggest wish is to be on vacation on Necker Island. That might be possible. And, you never know. Michael Mayer, welcome to BNI Podcast.
Thank you, Ivan, for having me. It's funny when you talk about white wine. I like white wine, but I know exactly that you like red wine, and that's why I bring you red wine. And I remember we had some very good times, and you have a very good choice when it comes to red wine, and I always enjoy having some good red wine with you.
You do, and you always bring them to the international conventions. I look forward to that every year. Thanks. And we've been known to open up my wine cellar a few times when you guys have visited.
That's true. You're very generous, and I have to say it was a great pleasure to taste this wine. It's some very good times in your house. Thank you.
Well, come on back to Austin, and you can see my new wine cellar. I don't think you've seen this one.
No, I've not seen this one, but thank you for the invitation.
Yes, yeah, we can fix that.
Thank you.
So we're talking about member retention, and there's three things that you wanted to talk about. The first is the care and feeding of members, basically the care for members. Talk about that.
It's interesting. We're very good in BNI launching chapters, and I think we're very good in also converting visitors into members. And when it comes to 3+1, one is to hold members in our chapters and to retain them. And we always calculate percentages. And I realized that percentages can be misleading because at the end of the day, what is a percentage? But if you look at absolute numbers, and you can see that, I don't know, out of a 500 member region, you lost 200 a year or 250. You lost 250 people who start building relationships and they enjoyed BNI, but they left us because whatever reason. And it's funny, when you look at these numbers, everybody who leaves BNI, it really hurts myself. So when it comes to retention, I always look at it from this side where at the end of the day, we need to take care of our members, and taking care is something where you have to put all your thoughts, emotions into that instead of just working a process. Don't get me wrong. I think processes are super important. But having this kind of leading thought of caring about people, caring about members, caring about entrepreneurs in BNI, I think it's the initial thought when I talk about retention.
Yeah, well, let's come back to that for a second. But I want to talk about the numbers that you mentioned, because we found in a couple of surveys, and I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, that a chapter is going to lose roughly 15 to 20% of its membership for reasons that it can't control. There's a health issue, the member moves, the member changes profession, the member retires. or the chapter let them go. There can be any number of reasons. So, if you lose 250 members in a region, somewhere around 50 of those are kind of out of the control of the chapter, other than letting them go. So it's really the 200 that you want to try to do your best to hang on to. And that really means staying connected with them, which is your next point, which is touch points with the member, particularly within the first year.
Exactly. So, I mean, when people are joining BNI, it's interesting. They come into a BNI meeting or to a visitor stay, and they really love the energy of the meeting. They really like the people there. They see their businesses being passed, and it's interesting. They want to join. And after they sign an application and they paid their dues, they get inducted into the chapter. But it's interesting. When there is nobody there who holds their hand or shows support or shows care, it can easily be that they're not being part of the group, or they don't know how this whole thing works. And sooner or very quickly we lose this kind of people. So it's very important that in the first 3 months you need to stay in touch with the newest members. We started to do, like, this is the first touch point. We're inviting every quarter of the year all new members with their life partners to a networking evening in our office, because we think it's very important to get to know them and really show them the vision of BNI, and that we are there for them. We probably cannot solve all the problems what they're having, but we show that we care for them. And this evening I love this evening. It's such a great evening because you have people from all different chapters. And that's why I think this is our first touch point. What I think it's super important to build a relationship and show them that we care.
So one of the things I love about you talking about this subject, and you and I talked about this in the past, is that in Germany and Austria, for a number of years, you were very, very focused on the process, which is important. Don't get me wrong, process, system, very important. But at some point, you came to the realization that it was really about the relationships and the connections that people had. Do you want to talk for a moment about that?
Happy to share it. I remember somebody created this kind of things: passion, people, processes. And I'm a big believer that all three have to work together. But when it comes to BNI and relationship, it's like you need to, if you want to build a relationship with somebody, and especially with new members, you need to find out firstly what you have in common. If you find something what you have in common, you have a starting point for a conversation. And secondly, if you want to build a relationship, you need to share something from yourself. You need to share something what other people are interested in. And if you do that at this first meeting, and I'm a very open person because I learned in BNI that you need to be open to really connect with people. I share something from my life, and I try to find something in common with new members. And it's interesting, when you have this kind of two things, suddenly you have a connection. And suddenly this is not a business partner. Suddenly this is something more. You build a relationship and you have something in common, and he knows something from me, and he would open up as well. And we haven't even talked about business. Yeah. And it's funny, then they get to know me, and I run BNI in Vienna or Germany and Austria, and I'm a human person. I'll tell them, guys, if you have any problems, call me, call our staff. We're there for you. So this evening we serve champagne, we serve some wine, we build relationships through finding common things. And at the end of the day, they meet with other members from other chapters. And suddenly they're not part of one chapter, they're part of a community. Where at the end of the day, I share the vision of BNI, what is changing the world, the way the world does business. And suddenly they're like, oh, I've never thought about this. Oh, there's something more behind. Oh, they really care. And that's the start where I think relationship is super important when it comes to retention.
Yeah, I think relationship is absolutely critical. And you bring up a couple of points. The fact that when they see that the organization is global, that is eye-opening to members. And when they know that the local, the national office or regional office cares, that's critical. That's the cement that keeps members engaged, I think, in the process.
I mean, what's funny? I do BNI now for over 20 years, and people still coming up to me at this evening said, "So, what's your real profession?" Even it's so funny because we have now we crossed the 11,000 members mark a week ago, and we have record numbers of members in Germany and in Austria. And still, we have we have 65 franchise regions. It's quite a big operation. I'm really happy to be part of that. And some members are coming up to me because they've never seen the big picture. Said, "So what's your job? What's your real job?" And I always start laughing. I said, "Guys, we are here to support you. We have a very big organization. There are over 300,000 members, and it's a big thing. And we show them how big it is. And if you don't come together with the new members, they need to be active themselves instead of just showing them where we are. And I'm very proud to be part of this organization because I still love it after 20 years.
Yeah, listen, I think a lot of members are surprised that there's over 300,000 members in the organization. And there's more than 10,000 people that work for the company, counting directors and employees. It's a pretty big operation. We're almost out of time, but you had one more topic that you wanted to touch upon, and that was recognition. Let's touch upon that. We've got about a minute or two.
I remember coming to the first global convention. It was in Los Angeles, and suddenly people were paying really deep respect for people who did something very good. And there was a standing ovation. And I'm coming from a country where standing ovation is not existing. And I just saw the power of recognition, where people are really feel that giving recognition is super important. And it starts off when on the local level. It's super interesting when you really say thank you to people. Thank you for the referral. Thank you for the content. Thank you for listening to me. And I think this is part where you do it in a one-to-one, and you really pick something super specific when you thank somebody. I think if you say, you're a great person, that's nice. But if you really being specific in recognition, saying, thank you for passing me these 3 referrals in the last 2 months, that made a difference in my business. Out of these 3 referrals, I closed 100% of them, and they already ordered a second or a third time. Thank you for passing me these 3 referrals in the last 2 months or whatever. The more specific you are, the more the people appreciate really what the recognition. So I really changed completely my way of dealing with other people, and saying thanks too often is not. I mean, you can say it as often as possible and being very specific in your thank you. And I think on the chapter level, and it's funny, we always thought in Germany, Austria, recognition is not important. It's the same thing like in every other country.
It is, yeah.
People appreciate it so much.
You know what? I read a piece many years ago by Frederick Hertzberg where he talked about motivation. And one of the best ways to motivate people within an organization is recognition. And I recommend that piece, Frederick Hertzberg. It's in the Harvard Business Review. How do you motivate people? And recognition is absolutely critical, and it certainly is in BNI. Michael, I want to thank you for your many years of service in the BNI organization and everything you're doing in Austria and Germany. And I appreciate you being on BNI Podcast today.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for this chance. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Priscilla.
Okay, great. I think that's it for this week. Thank you so much, both of you, for the great information. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material available to you at MeisnerAudioprograms.com and use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI Podcast.